Hi everybody, it's Tom from Vehicle Visionary. This is the 2023 BMW M850i. I borrowed this model from my friends here at BMW today, and we're going to see what exactly it is you get. So how is this best described? Well, depending on the engine that's under the hood, it really doesn't matter. Both are high performance and very plentiful when it comes to a fun driving experience with plenty of horsepower. And surprisingly, it's a very comfortable ride for what it is. If you want to take a nice long road trip or a nice cruise, it's going to give you the benefit of a comfortable, smooth, and enjoyable ride. And speaking of that, you also have ample cargo capacity for what the vehicle is. And a couple of changes for 2023. One, probably a little bit harder to show you right now, but I'll show you later on if we can get it inside of the building here at BMW. The illuminated grille, something new for 2023, as is the updated infotainment screen, the new display. It's larger. When it's clean, there is nothing like a black exterior color. This is the black sapphire metallic exterior color from BMW. On the front end, we're going to have obviously the LED lights everywhere you look, daytime running lights, headlights. You're going to have your blinker right here. Yes, this BMW is equipped with blinkers. I know that might be a shock to a lot of people. And being high performance as it is, good news. Everything here on the front end is active. Obviously the kidney grille up here and the lower grille going to be active, as well as the vent right here. We have the corner vent, the air curtain right there. You can see all the way through. That's going to be a benefit to gas mileage, as long as you keep your foot out of it, which might be a little challenging to do. Even the vents right here, active as well. And then overall, even with this black sapphire exterior color, it's not as easy to necessarily see the body lines, but we'll do the best we can to show you how racy everything looks. The elongated nose definitely goes a long way. I'm not saying it really does, but it does remind me of, not necessarily looks like, but that of a funny car body, if you're familiar with the sport of drag racing, minus the large rear wing with the large spill plates. But when you look at the lines here on the front end and how everything works its way up, the air is going to flow up and over, definitely going to help out with aerodynamics and even gas mileage. But when we look at the way the hood is made, sometimes you don't even pay attention to this stuff. It's a little harder to see here with this particular color. But the rise here, it doesn't completely flatten out. You still have a steady rise to a point, then it kind of dips down into a little bit of a valley. And then the large center section, I wouldn't call it a bulge, it's kind of indented just a tiny bit, and then it works its way down onto the side in the opposite direction. And anytime you have high performance, obviously, you want to have a lot of meat on the ground. 245 on the width here. We're gonna have a 45 series sidewall. It'll be interesting to see what it really rides like in real life when we get out on the road later on. And a 20-inch wheel. Now you're gonna have the 20-inch wheels on the front and the rear. We have the M logo here on the black brake calipers. And obviously a very large rotor right here. You're going to need that, especially if you track this car, which it is very capable of being tracked and doing very well. And part of the reason for that is because of the 275 width on the rear tires, a little more tread making its way to the ground, helping things to stick. 30 series sidewall, and again, the 20-inch wheels. So what amount of power is this model actually putting to the ground? Let's open the hood and talk all about it. Now, I know a lot of BMW owners are not going to care about this, but I think in a high performance situation like this, they probably will. So I like the fact that you pull once, twice on the hood release, and that's going to allow us to do something that I really like. I don't have to go hunting around for a hood latch. I just lift up on the hood. And what does it reveal? The 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. 523 horsepower, 553 pounds-feet of torque, made it to an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is making its way to the ground through X-Drive, so you've got great traction ability here. What do you have in the way of MPGs? It's gonna be hard to achieve this, I would imagine, just because this car is so fun to drive and it sounds so good. But BMW says 17 miles per gallon city, 24 highway, 19 combined, and 5.3 gallons of gas is what BMW says you should use per every 100 miles you drive. I seriously doubt I would achieve that. Speaking of the sound, here is an exhaust clip for you. And as much as I said this looks like a funny car body, well, you can see the swoopiness as we work our way across that nicely angled windshield onto the roof. It almost looks like it's in motion when it's sitting still. Working its way down towards the trunk here, you can have a built-in spoiler right here. That looks right. It's not too much, it's not too little. For being such a small spoiler, you would think maybe it needs a little bit more. No, not really, and it definitely doesn't need the size of wing and spill plates and all that you would really have on a true funny car body. LED tail lights, you can see that is a blinker. This model of BMW is equipped with blinkers. I know it's kind of a myth that a lot of them are not. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, or maybe people just don't use them. I wonder what that might turn out to be. The M850i logo right here, people know what it is while they can see it when you're sitting still until you drop the hammer, and they can't see it anymore because you're driving so fast. The xDrive logo, and here's what we have as far as where that sound came from. I just gave you that exhaust sound. Now, these are the finishers. You will see, let's see if I can get underneath here, because I know the undercarriage shot didn't really give you, I can't really give you the best shot there, but it didn't give you a great look at the exhaust because we were more focused on the center of the undercarriage of the vehicle. But you can see what's there. It does have exhaust outlets, all that good stuff. What about the practicality? What kind of cargo capacity do we have? Now, it may not be the most plentiful cargo area, but you do have 12.4 to 14.8 cubic feet. And I'm not gonna do it from here, but you can see that you have the release on each side. You can lower down the rear seats and maximize your cargo space that much more. There is a reasonable amount in here. You could take a trip for a couple of days and have absolutely no problem. Obviously, this is a hands-free trunk. Just push the button right there and you can close that, or you can push the button on the right with that lock and lock the interior as you close the trunk at the same time. And just for grins and giggles, I thought I'd show you, for those of you who are not fans of capless fuel fill, well, good news. That's not what you have right here. You have the good old-fashioned cap that, let's see, does it still have the old school sound? Nope, it doesn't. But where it kind of clicks, you know, when you're turning it. But that's okay. And one thing that I thought was very interesting here, let's see if we can get these seats to come forward here. Now you can see that the seat is moving forward. I pulled on the release right here to make that happen. The seat back folded forward, and then the little electric motor took over. Now there's not a lot of space back here, but you know what? For you parents with small enough kids, you do have the latch system, and I like the fact that BMW has made that very simple. There's the latch system, and you notice how that cover just flips up and out of the way? That means that's one less thing to have to keep up with. And when it comes to the interior, obviously you're gonna have high-end materials, very comfortable, very plush. And you know, I'm really kind of learning that the poke test for these armrests and how comfortable they are really isn't the way to do it. You gotta put your arm up there and actually find out, because that feels like an overdone steak. But when you put your arm up there, it's actually very comfortable. All of the nice controls and everything here, you would expect to find very nice materials, high end, but yet looking fairly sporty. Now, you won't find up here the controls for changing the positioning of the power seats, which are gonna be on the driver and the passenger side, but you will find that here on the seat itself. And obviously you have the ability to change, well, pretty much anything you want to, depending on your personal situation and or desires. There is quite a bit of room in here, believe it or not. For me at 5'10", well, let's see here. You can see how my hair looks today. I've got a little bit of head space. I'm sitting straight up. Now the seat is practically at a 90-degree angle, so I'm sitting up a lot more straight than I would, and I still have some head space. And a quick look into the gloveless glove box. There's never gloves inside of here, but you do have the nice plush materials. And so you could rub your hand on that. It's almost like an ASMR experience. I don't know, that's all about sound, I guess, more than anything else. Here are the controls for the air conditioning and all that good stuff. And you can see that you have heated and ventilated seats. That's a good thing, because here in Northwest Louisiana, well, on a day like this, even though it's in the 60s, I could still use the ventilated portion of that. And as funny as it sounds and simplistic as it is, this is something that a lot of people don't want to live without a knob for controlling the volume and turning the radio on and off. Very interesting, but that's the way it is. And then you can see the nice cover right here. Carbon fiber is going to be throughout the vehicle as far as your materials go. Then we're going to have our cup holders right here. Wireless charging is going to be back here. And the shifter, there's your start-stop button for the engine, and you're going to change all of your driving modes right here. And the thing about the screen that I like is it is a touch screen, but if you're like Monk, or Monk rides in your car, well, guess what? You can use everything here to avoid actually touching the screen. So if you're one of those people, well, good news for you. And the Bombay doors, bombs away. There we go. We have a decent amount of space in there and some connectivity as far as that goes. Let's see, we've got 12 volt and a USB option there. We'll try and get that back in there in just a minute. But I do want to show you more about the screen right here and what the driver is going to find, because that is the most important part of this vehicle. And yes, I did manage to get it back in. Let's see if I can do it on camera. There we go. I couldn't achieve that earlier. And before we hop into the driver's seat, a couple of important pieces of information to cover. Here is what your remote looks like. It's going to have lock, unlock. It does have remote start via this button right here. You can open the trunk, and if somebody's getting too close, you can hit the panic button right there. And you also have the heated, power adjustable, and power folding side view mirrors. The turn signal indicators are indeed built in, which at this price point, they better be. I know a lot of you really like that feature. So you can see that you're going to control all of that right there. You've got window controls here, and then you can lock and unlock, and your seat memory right here as well. So quite a bit going on where that is concerned. Now, let's hop inside here. We'll start the engine up. And obviously, we have to go into sport mode. I don't know if you can actually hear the sound change, but there we go. Good sound from the exhaust. So here's what we have with our screens. The latest and the greatest from BMW. Very high-tech looking, a very nice instrument cluster. Obviously, you can go through a lot of information there. We're not going to cover every single little bit of that. You can see you have your traffic sign recognition, the speed limit down there, all that good stuff. And a nice bright head-up display. I don't know how well the camera is actually picking it up, but it is there. Steering wheel mounted controls. And I'll tell you what, I really like the size of these paddle shifters. My only complaint, and you know, it's just my personal preference, I'd love to see these affixed to the steering column instead of the steering wheel, because that way, no matter where the steering wheel is, I know which paddle I'm pushing, or pulling, I should say. You don't push these, do you? But anyway, we talked about the new updated screen. Well, here it is in all of its glory. Looking very nice. You do have built-in navigation, as you see, and since I'm not Monk, I'm not afraid to touch the screen. You can see what all is there. You do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can connect your phone and do all of that good stuff. A lot of great information here with the vehicle. We'll just go through a few different things just to show you what the screens offer as far as that goes. It's a really simple system to learn and use. Vehicle status, we'll go into that. You can see what all you have as far as the different features and the different functionalities. Your tire pressure, remember that doesn't go to 100 just in case. And whoops, I kind of screwed up on that, didn't I? Let's turn that down. I think I accidentally did that. Anyway, driver profiles. There's something that's nice to have. Depending on who's driving the vehicle, well, it can be set up to go right into what they want it to be. But I like the fact that obviously when you're changing your driving modes, well, you can see what's going on there as well. And you can see the different ways to handle things. Standard, you have plus, individual, and then configure individual. So then you can go in and make changes to everything. If you don't want the engine, for example, well, we wouldn't want it to not be sport, but just so you can see, you have sport or you have sport plus, you can go to comfort, all that good stuff. I don't know why you would want to change that to anything other than sport, but it is what it is. Now, one thing you might notice that I haven't talked about is safety features. Well, what a great way to tell you about this button. When I push that, there are your safety features. We're going to see what all we have. We'll go through here, configure individual, that's where we see exactly what we have here. So you can see forward collision mitigation, side collision warning, all of that stuff. I'm not going to cover everything that's there, but just so you can see. And you can go in and actually change the aggressiveness. Reduced, early, medium, or you can even turn it off if you want to. And last but not least, before we get out for our test drive, here are our multiple camera views. Very clear, very nice, very easy. We can go in and zoom in on different areas depending on what we want to see. A very simple system to use, but I do like the fact that it's so effective and a very simple thing. For those of you who maybe are still driving around in a 2000 BMW or whatever it is, well, guess what? This isn't that difficult to learn. You can use the hunt and peck method just like I'm using right here as far as what you change. Just take a little bit of time to do it. It's not that terribly hard. And like I said earlier, you have all of your driving modes here. You can turn on and off different features and functionality, especially that auto stop start, or what a lot of manufacturers call idle stop. That's nice. And then going into reverse, all we're going to do is push the button right there and move the shifter, or we can go back here to drive. We'll let that come in. There we go. We can see the indicator. I don't know how well you can see that on the screen. There we go, that it's now in drive. Speaking of drive, that is the big deal here. I'm going to put this back in park so that I can get ready to take you out on the test drive. Now, the only downside to the test drive here is the fact that we don't have any kind of a sunroof. And so I'm going to have to put you right up there in the windshield for the best view possible, but you'll still be able to hear what's going on. And before we jump out on the road for our test drive, I wanted to give you a quick sampling of the Harman Kardon surround sound system. So here we go. Okay, don't want to go too far on that, but just so you know, that's what it sounds like. Don't worry, we're not calling the Shreveport Police Department on anybody right now, but in case you were curious, yes, I did pair my phone. But in case you were wondering what the sound system sounds like in this car, well, as best as I can give you off of my lapel mic, now you know. All right, we're out on the test drive, and even though I'm not going to be able to drive this car very far today, I can tell that it would be very enjoyable on a nice long road trip. I mean, I could daily this car. This M850i drives very well, it rides very well, and I'll tell you what, it sure has plenty of horsepower. That's a fact. We're not going to be able to test that out at the moment, but it is what it is. We've got a couple of vehicles in front of us, but we're about to turn and we'll get into a place where maybe I can give you a little bit better exhaust note. And I also want to give you the opportunity, even though we're not going to be on really bad pavement through this test drive, to get a little bit of an idea of what it sounds like with the road noise. So we'll give you a small exhaust clip real quick here. Yep, it plants you back in the seat pretty good, I must say. I gotta be kind of careful here, but boy, I tell you what, you can really feel it squat the back of the car down. The chassis is obviously very well tuned. It's a very fun experience, just a little bit there. And I was maybe at about half throttle there. One thing I will say is I would probably adjust some of the safety features because it seems to be a little aggressive on wanting to keep me in my lane if I move just a little bit in the wrong direction. But all right, here we go. Let's have a little more fun. Not too much, but a little bit. Wow. Yeah, it's about what you would expect. If you are on your long road trip and say you get on one of those little 2-lane country roads or something along those lines, and you have a slowpoke in front of you, well, you sure wouldn't have any trouble passing that person when it's safe to do so. In fact, it'd be a very quick experience. As far as just the overall practical daily use of a car like this definitely will do it. I have the fan speed turned all the way down, so I don't, the air is not really on right now, but when it is on, it doesn't take any time to cool down, even though it's not too terribly warm today, but if it were, I can tell that it would still be absolutely no problem. The seats themselves are very comfortable. They hug your body, at least for me. I'm comfortable. It's not too much, but it's not too little. If I was out tracking this car on a road course or just driving spiritedly out on the road when there's nobody around, that would be no problem. I would be very comfortable and enjoy the drive. But at the same time, while you're very comfortable, you also have that awesome performance under your foot. You can drop the hammer anytime you want to, when you can, of course. We don't need to run into the back of any cars in front of us, so I'm not going to do that right now, even though we're moving along at a decent speed, but it's just so hard not to want to do that. Steering wheel itself, you know, it is a heated steering wheel. It's leather wrapped, it's very comfortable. What you would expect here from BMW. A very fun car to drive in every aspect. Easy to drive. It's, you know, it's fairly large, but then again, it's not a yacht. It's easy to get around. It has a good tight turning radius. And obviously with those camera views that you have, you're not going to have any trouble knowing what's going on around you and seeing what your situation is. If somebody who wants to be sarcastic or smart aleck or whatever, rude, I guess is the best word to put it, maybe park a little closer to you than you should or they should, well, you're going to know what kind of room you have to work with. Overall, just a fun car to drive. The technology is great, the power is plentiful, and the ride quality is exceptionally smooth for what this car is. Do you hear that sound? Yeah, I'm using my blinkers in the BMW. Now, the reason why we're here, I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds and just let you listen. This is the roughest portion of pavement I have for today's test drive, so I'll let you see what it sounds like. In my personal opinion, the road noise isn't too bad, but tell me what you think. And that is what you get for $106,430 with the 2023 version of the BMW 850i. Quite a fun car to drive, as you can imagine. It would be nice to have a press version so I could drive it for a little bit longer, but that may not happen, at least not anytime soon. I don't know. But one way or another, I'm always curious to know what you think about this particular model of BMW. Is it something you plan to buy? Tell me about it. Tell me what the specs will be if this is a car you want, or if you own one. What are your thoughts? Maybe it's your daily driver. I'd be curious to know what that experience is like. I've got to say a special thanks to my friends here at BMW for loaning me this model for the day, and a special thanks to each and every one of you for being kind enough to give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn about other vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.